The story begins with a high school boy called Odasaka, who one day discovers he has the strange ability to temporarily take over someone else's body for 5 seconds. He is confused about how he got this power. Gradually he starts using it for everyday things, like possessing people he dislikes so that he can get them into fights, or cheating on exams to improve his grades. His clever tricks help him get into a prestigious high school and become the top student. On top of that, Odasaka is pretty popular due to his looks, and girls often ask him for date, but he hardly pays them any attention. His true interest lies in one girl, Ayumi Shirayanaji, famously known as the school's Madonna. Odasaka goes all out to create a plan to save Yumi from an oncoming truck, hoping to win her heart in the process. His plan succeeds, and Yumi decides to thank him with some food. For a little while, things seem to be looking up for Odasaka. But his happiness doesn't last long when his fraudulent activities get exposed by another girl called, now Tamori, the student council president of Hashinami Academy. Now explains that Hashinami Academy is a safe haven for students with special abilities, as their powers are seen as a kind of illness that caught during adolescence and will disappear in due time. To convince him, now taps into her power of invisibility, making herself invisible to just one target. In the end, she and Jijiro pull off their plan successfully. They inform Odasaka that he'll join their student council to help them take down those who misuse their abilities. When Odasaka gets home, his little sister Ayumi welcomes him and shares that they're both being transferred to Hashinami Academy as scholarship students. Once there, he learns more about others with special powers. Now reveals that people like them have often been used as test subjects by neuroscientists. That's why it's important for them to stay united. Now further explain that the student council has a unique responsibility to find individuals with special abilities and either protect them or threaten them to never use their powers. Now then gathers Odasaka and Jijiro, leading them to the student council room. Once they arrive, Odasaka meets the council's assistant, another student with powers, who hands them their first task. They need to track down someone who can use thortography, a skill that allows them to project images from their mind onto surfaces using psychic energy. They head to a nearby school, splitting up to gather any rumors or odd occurrences related to photographs. Suddenly, they notice a suspicious student, and now commands Odasaka to possess him to stop him from fleeing. Jijiro goes after the poor guy, while now search through his stuff. Eventually, she finds what she's looking for, some lewd photos of a pretty student. Further questioning they find out that the pictures were purchased from a guy named Judo. The trio manages to catch the culprit, who turns out to be the captain of the archery team. Now confronts Judo, and he claims he's doing this to support his sick parents. He even tries to threaten now with lewd photos of her, but it backfires. Now calmly tells him that if he keeps misusing his abilities, he'll ruin his own life. This seems to resonate with him, and they decide to leave him alone. The next day, now takes Odasaka out somewhere. On their way, she shares that her brother, Kazuki, was the first to gain a special ability. Just as he was about to sign with a record label, their mom urged them both to go to a boarding school. A scientist linked to the boarding school experimented on Kazuki, keeping him in a sanatorium until he no longer recognized his own sister. Now that they've reached their destination, it's revealed that now brought Odasaka to see her brother, who is currently trashing his room. Once he's calmed down with some painkillers, now takes him outside for some fresh air. Odasaka suggests there might be a cure for Kazuki, but now explains that scientists often treat people with powers like batteries. Once they run out of power they discard them for another person. The trio then takes on another task, a spiritual medium who can channel the dead and someone with pyrokinesis. They're searching for Yuza Nishimori, a popular idol from the group Hero Hero. While on their search, they encounter a guy who asks why they're after Yuza. Now doesn't say anything except that they know Yuza has some supernatural skills, and that they can help her out. The guy leads them to Yuza, and they find out her powers are pretty unique. She can act as a medium for the dead. This means her older sister, Misa, can take over her body and use her own power of pyrokinesis. Now asks Misa, while she's temporarily in Yuza's body, if she knows why Yuza is being hunted. One of Misa's friends from when she was still alive, hands now a device that Yuza accidentally brought home after a shoot. It turns out the device belongs to a TV producer, and Yuza had read a message containing some serious dirt on him. Now offers to help them threaten the producer to stop his shady activities, and they arrange to return the device. When they get there, Misa takes over Yuza again and hurls a fireball at her friends, who are posing as the producer's bodyguards, to scare him off. With some help from Odasaka, Now, and Jijiro, their plan works and the producer bolts in fear. After Now suggests that Yuza/Misa transfer to Hashinami Academy for their safety, Yuza quickly becomes the most popular student at the school. Now then takes her to the student council room, where their group of 4 receives their next task, a person with telekinesis. Fortunately, now already seems to have an idea of who this person is and even some footage of him using his powers. It turns out he's a baseball player who manipulates the game to his advantage. They head over to the nearby school's baseball field to confront him. At first, he denies everything, but now explains that their powers only last until they reach adulthood. To get him to listen, now proposes a friendly baseball game, and the player, Arifumi, agrees. The 4 of them, along with a few other students, face off against Arifumi's team. As the match unfolds, now, Odasaka, Jijiro, and Misa, who has taken over Yuza's body, use their abilities to secure a win. In the end, Arifumi is left with no choice but to promise never to use his powers again. The group takes on a new task, a person who can float in the air. Now finds an occult magazine that mentions sightings of a guy who can supposedly fly, thinking that might lead them to the person they're looking for. So, the 4 of them decide to go on a camping trip in the mountains. One night, while they're waiting for the ability user to show up, Odasaka spots now listening to music by herself. He asks her what she's listening, and she tells him it's a band called Jeaned, which her brother used to love. They end up bonding over music while watching the city light up below. During their chat, now casually shares that her dream is to make a music video for Jeaned. She even gives Odasaka her music player so he can enjoy the tunes whenever he wants. When they rejoin Jijiro and Yuza, now notices they're being followed by their person of interest. Sure enough, while they're getting ready to roast some corn, a guy approaches them. After a brief chat, he tries to shoo them away so he can practice flying, but it doesn't work. He attempts to grab Nao's camcorder, but she tricks him into an abandoned well to trap him. He uses his powers to fly out and snatches the camcorder. Odasaka takes control of his body to stop him from escaping, and now explains the risks of using their abilities. The guy, named Sato, shares that he dreams of flying freely but decides to stop using his powers for his own safety. Once they're back home, Odasaka notices that Ayumi has come down with a fever. The next day, Odasaka notices that Ayumi's fever is still high. In the student council room, the group gets a case about someone who has the ability to make others collapse. They discover that this person lives in the same apartment complex as them. Now figures out that it can't be an adult since these powers only show up during teenage years, meaning it's likely someone who's homesick from school. Odasaka immediately suspects it might be his sister, and informs everyone that Ayumi is stuck in bed with her fever. When Odasaka and his friends check on her, they find that 3 of Ayumi's friends are already there. Later that evening, Ayumi shares with her brother that she had a nightmare where the ground started cracking. The next day, Odasaka updates the group on what he found, but with so little information about this power, he advises Ayumi to stay home again. Odasaka and Jijiro are called to the student council room, only to find out that Ayumi sneaked into school that day. Meanwhile, Ayumi runs into Oikawa, who then asks her if she's willing to go out and eat with him today after class. Once again, Ayumi rejects him and heads back to class. On her way, she bumps into another friend, Konishi, who accuses Ayumi of stealing her boyfriend, Oikawa. Ayumi panics when she sees Konishi holding a cutter and tries to talk her down. When she couldn't find a way to reason, Ayumi breaks free and attempts to flee, but soon finds herself trapped in a corner. Just when it seems she might be in trouble, her powers awaken, causing the ground to start crumbling beneath her. Meanwhile, the group manages to sneak into the middle school, only to see part of the building collapse. Odasaka rushes toward the wreckage, desperate to find his sister. Just then, a piece of debris cracks and falls right at him. We then see Odasaka waking up in the infirmary, where a nurse calls for a doctor. He quickly asks about his sister, but the doctor sadly tells him she has died. The news of Ayumi's death leaves Odasaka in shock, unable to even prepare a meal for himself. He survives on instant noodles and pushes away his friends when they try to visit. Now that he's out of ramen, he heads to a convenience store to buy some, but instead of going home, he chooses to hide out at a comic cafe far from the city to avoid the student council. Odasaka spends his days in a mess, playing games at an arcade, eating junk food, and sleeping at the cafe. He also gets into a lot of fights with local gangsters, using his powers to turn them against each other. After one of his fights, he sees one of the men he beat up reaching for a box. He opens it up and finds drugs inside. He decides to take it to a quiet spot to try some himself. Just then, Nao shows up and kicks the drugs out of his hands. Odasaka is shocked to find her there and asks how she found him. Nao explains that she's been following him invisibly the whole time. She confesses that she feels guilty about Ayumi's death, which is why she trailed him. Odasaka reacts angrily, but Nao manages to calm him down and offers him a proper meal. They go to Jijiro's family home, or now cooks a dish just like Ayumi used to make. Eventually, she convinces Odasaka to return home. Odasaka tries to piece his life back together without Ayumi, leaning on his friends for support. Now gathers everyone again, this time to see if anyone wants to join her for Jean's concert. Odasaka grabs the extra ticket. On his way home from school, he runs into a woman with a disability who seems familiar, so he calls out to her. He takes her to a restaurant, and finds out she's actually Sulla Shane, the lead singer of Jean. Just before Sulla leaves, he asks if she could meet now, mentioning that she's a fan of the band. However, Now refuses to come visit, so Odasaka takes Sulla to see someone else instead. They arrive to see Kazuki, hoping to trigger some memories that might help him remember someone special. When they get there, they find Kazuki off his medication and once again messing up his bet. Odasaka explains that Kazuki used to be a fan of their band, but due to some unfortunate events, he couldn't achieve his dream of getting a record deal. Sulla steps in and starts singing, which instantly calms Kazuki down. It seems like he recognizes her voice, and Odasaka asks if he can remember his little sister. After Sulla leaves, Kazuki manages to say Nao's name. Odasaka then gets a call from Nao, who's at the hospital and thanks him for helping her brother. Later, Odasaka meets Nao at a gig for Jean. And he can't help but feel a bit smitten seeing her in casual clothes. As they enjoy the performance, Odasaka suddenly remembers something from his past, leading to a flashback of him and Ayumi in a hospital, where it seems they were there for research. While waiting in line for food at the cafeteria, it's revealed that they have an older brother named Shansuk, who has the ability to time travel. While the siblings are having their meal, Odasaka thinks about how the scientists believe his power only allows him to control someone's body for 5 seconds. He worries that if they discover his true abilities, they might imprison him like their older brother. Just then, a guy named Komigami sits next to Odasaka, and whispers that he's found someone with telepathy, capable of sending and receiving messages. Komigami instructs Odasaka to take over someone's body first and then shares the location of the telepath. After a while, Ayumi is taken away by guards to an unknown place, and Odasaka protests claiming she has no powers. When he reaches out for her, he gets tossed and wakes up to an earthquake, and an announcement that their block will be temporarily shut down. A researcher enters Odasaka's room and explains that Ayumi's collapsibility was forcibly revealed, causing the earthquake. Since she's too powerful, the scientists plan to dissect her and eliminate her afterward. This pushes Odasaka to use his plunder ability to save Ayumi, revealing that his true power is stealing others' abilities when he takes over their bodies. Odasaka sneaks into the telepath's room and swipes his powers, but a guard spots him and tries to shoot. Just then, a woman's voice distracts the guard, and she knocks him out using only her mind. Meanwhile, Odasaka navigates through the building and connects with his brother, who's tied up inside. He warns that Ayumi is causing a ruckus and is about to be experimented on. As he runs, gas starts leaking from the walls, forcing him to halt. Shurchino, a friend of Komigami, advises Odasaka to use his permeation ability to reach his brother. He follows the advice just as guards start firing at Shurchino. Odasaka phases through the walls, reaches his brother, and frees him from his restraints. His brother activates his time leap just as the guards burst in. We then shift back to the present, where Odasaka wakes up in a room with Nao. She informs him that he fainted during the mission. And he mentions he might have another brother. Just then, Komigami walks into the infirmary. He's the one who's been assisting them in tracking down people with special abilities. Komigami tells them that Odasaka can save Ayumi using his brother's time leap power. He then takes Odasaka and Nao to a hidden facility where they meet Shansuk, who is now blind. We get a flashback from Shansuk's perspective, showing Odasaka and Ayumi as kids. While the kids are having breakfast, it becomes clear that Shansuk has the ability to see into the future, even knowing the exact date when they will be captured. He shares that after creating a time leap, he formed a friendship with Komigami, who introduces him to the rest of their group. There's Shurchino, who can walk through walls, Madoki, who can put anyone to sleep but ends up dozing off herself, and Madamori, who can wipe memories with a touch. Shansuk successfully builds a secret organization of teens with unique powers. Eventually, he realizes they need money to hire more people, so he decides to make another time leap to the past to gamble on horses or win the lottery. However, using his powers so much starts to blur his vision, and he realizes he's gradually going blind. During breakfast with his siblings, young Odasaka asks about his high school plans, which inspires Shansuk to create Hashinami Academy to protect his siblings and other kids from being experimented on by scientists. But he knows he can only make one last time leap before losing his sight completely. He travels back, saves everyone, and purchases a school to kick off his plans. In a final act, he asks to erase Odasaka and Ayumi's memories of him, as he can't risk anyone knowing he exists. Komigami also gets in on the action by establishing another school dedicated to safeguarding those with special abilities. In the present, now tells Odasaka that she and Jijiro have always been aware of his real power. Upon further investigation, they find out that everyone Odasaka has possessed has lost their special ability, making it clear that once he takes it, it's gone forever. Shansuk then asks Odasaka to use his time leap to go back and save Ayumi by taking her collapse ability. Odasaka travels back to the day when Ayumi is on bed rest. He quickly shares with Nao and the others what Ayumi's special ability is and relives the whole day with Nao. Before she leaves his apartment, he reveals to Nao that he actually used the time leap to save his sister, and she understands everything. Odasaka goes back inside and steals Ayumi's ability before she gets into the accident. Next day, Odasaka drops off Ayumi at school. Now, Jijiro and Yuza appear and disguise themselves to sneak into the middle school. We cut to Ayumi getting confronted by her friend with the cutter again, but this time when she gets cornered and screams, Odasaka leaps out of the locker and scares off the girl. With Nao's help, Ayumi and Odasaka go home together, but on the way are confronted by Komigami. Ayumi and Odasaka are taken into the secret lair where they meet Shansuk. Once the siblings get reacquainted with each other, Shansuk tells Odasaka that he's now in great danger because there are syndicates that will be going after him. Shansuk tells Odasaka that he needs to stay there with him until the abilities disappear. He takes his siblings on a tour around the facility, where they discover that the research facility is creating a vaccine to prevent future outbreaks before particles are spread all over the world. The researcher explains to Odasaka that everything began with a long-orbit comet called Charlotte. This comet swings by Earth every 75 years, releasing mysterious particles that grant special powers to anyone who breathes them in. Shansuk also informs his siblings that while the vaccine can stop future abilities from appearing, it won't help those who have already gained their powers. Ayumi is then introduced to other ability users at the facility, including Shansuk's friends, as they prepare to live together. As time goes on, Ayumi and Odasaka start to fit in well with the group. However, when Komigami catches a scent from another ability user, he decides to meet with the student council. Odasaka wants to tag along but is held back due to the danger. While being driven by Furuki, Komigami senses something is off. Furuki begins talking about threats to his family and takes Komigami to a secret location. There, a group steps out from the shadows and tells Furuki to leave. Komigami is then subjected to physical abuse and gets restrained. Once he regains consciousness, he is tasked to give them information about every ability wielder he knows. He initially resists but ends up revealing details. Meanwhile, Shansuk receives a call from the group's leader, who demands he hand over Odasaka or else Nao will be harmed. Shansuk comes up with a plan for Odasaka to rescue Komigami and Nao, but Odasaka starts to freak out at the idea of doing it alone. After a bit of hesitation, he agrees, and Furuki takes him to the rival group's hideout. Once they get inside, Odasaka quickly uses his looting ability to check for any weapons but finds nothing. Meanwhile, Nao and Komigami are locked up in the basement, putting them at risk if he decides to use his collapse ability. When an enemy injures his eye, he loses the chance to time leap back. Feeling desperate, Odasaka goes ahead and uses collapse along with telekinesis to escape danger. His brother and friends find him, but Komigami sacrifices himself to protect Nao. Odasaka then has surgery to fix his eye, and once he wakes up he recalls everything that happened and is immediately in a state of shock. Shirchino gives him a sedative to prevent him from using collapse and informs him that he's been in a coma for 2 days, and that Komigami is gone. After a visit from Madoki, Odasaka heads to the hospital roof to find his brother, who is grieving the loss of his best friend. Feeling helpless to cheer Shansuk up, he returns to his room and finds Nao waiting for him. Frustrated, he asks her what he should do next. Nao suggests that since Shansuk already has a vaccine to stop the creation of supernatural powers when the comet Charlotte returns, Odasaka should focus on stealing abilities from those with powers to protect them from terrorists. It's risky since no one knows what will happen to Odasaka after, but it is a way to save everyone else. Odasaka doesn't even give it much thought and agrees with Nao's dangerous plan. When she asks him why he's so ready to push through with it, he tells her that because he wants to be the one to save her from now on, and that he's now fallen in love with her. Nao is a little confused by the sudden confession, since their compatibility is a little off, but eventually tells Odasaka that she'll be waiting for him after he saves everyone else. Odasaka starts with Nao and steals her invisibility. Then Odasaka makes his way back to the roof and tells his brother of his plans. Shansuk says it's impossible, but Odasaka's mind is made up. and he sets off to steal everyone's abilities. After getting discharged from the hospital, Jijiro and Nisa ask him to now take away their abilities. Odasaka is a little hesitant because if he takes away Yuza's power then Nisa will fade away. But she assures him it's fine, and Odasaka takes away their abilities. Odasaka travels the world to steal everyone's abilities, including those who haven't fully shown their power yet. However, as he keeps taking powers, it slowly takes a toll on him as he starts losing his sense of self and his memories. As the days progress, Odasaka starts to lose more and more of his memories, even forgetting who now is. Still, on the days when Odasaka has full control of himself, he continues to loot the abilities of people around the world. News of his mission spreads across continents, and people now dub him as the One-Eyed Grim Reaper. One night as he's looking for the very last ability wielder, he gets shot by a man with an arrow. Weakened from the weight of the powers in his body, Odasaka is brought to his knees. Just then a young girl comes to his rescue and buys him enough time to get back on his feet. He steals the girl's ability and tells the girl to go home. He faints from overexhaustion, and luckily his brother finds him and brings him back to Japan. Once Odasaka wakes up, he's forgotten everything about himself and everyone else. Now greets him saying she's his girlfriend, but he doesn't remember her at all. Now gets a bit sad, but she greets him happily anyway, welcoming him back home. We then see Odasaka surrounded by his family and friends, promising each other to fill their lives with only fun things from now on. And this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed.